The joint session of the House and the Senate will come to order. What is the pleasure of the joint session?
Mr. President,
The chair recognizes Majority Floor Leader Stefanski.
I ask unanimous consent that we resolve ourselves into a committee of the whole House and Senate to be addressed by Chief Justice of the New Mexico Supreme Court, the Honorable David K. Thomson.
If there is no objection, it is so ordered. Committee of the whole House and Senate will come to order.
Mr. Chairman.
Chair recognizes Majority Whip Hockman Vahid.
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent that the chair appoint a committee of 6 to escort Chief Justice David K. Thomson to the House chambers.
If there is no objection, the chair will appoint Senator Paul, Senator Duhigg, and Senator Padilla, Representative Sena Cortez, Representative Lujan, and Representative Silva to escort the Chief Justice Thomson to the House chambers. At this time, it's my honor to recognize some of our guests who are here today joining us for this special joint session. First, I'll begin with the family of Chief Justice David K. Thomson, Patricia Thomson, Ava Thomson, Ann Thomson, and Carol K. Thomson. Please stand and be recognized. The Justices of the Supreme Court, the Honorable Michael E. Vigil. The Honorable C. Sharon Bacon. And the Honorable Julie J. Vargas. Guests of the Chief Justice, or former Chief Justice Judith K. Nakamura. Chief Clerk of the Supreme Court Elizabeth Garcia. Director of the Administrative Office of the Courts Carl Rifstick. Our New Mexico State Law Librarian Stephanie Wilson. Chief Justice Thomson's law clerks Maddie Klaba and Jackie Monroe. Ann Keith, Tamara Mitchell, Leo Anchondo, Sarah Jacobs, Mr. Barry Massey, Beth Ojan, and the Supreme Court's law clerks are Jonah Griego, Ricardo Guadarrama, Lionel Betts, Jasmine Johar, Roy Steller, Jordan Velasquez, Yvonne Zelen, Victoria Lovato. Please rise. Joining us today are the Gonzales family, Esteban, Arisa, Adiah, and Asher. New Mexico District Attorney Association President, Mr. Marcos Montoya. Chief Public Defender of New Mexico, Ben Barr. Bernalillo County District Attorney, Mr. Sam Brigman. General Counsel to the Governor, Holly Edgelin. Dean of the University of New Mexico Law School, Camille Carey. And President of the State Bar Association, Asia Brooks. Joining us from the Court of Appeals today is Chief Judge, the Honorable Jennifer Tripp. The Honorable Miles Hennessy. The Honorable Jacqueline R. Medina. The Honorable Megan Duffy. The Honorable Zachary Ives. The Honorable Shamara Henderson. The Honorable Jane Yoham. The Honorable Gerald Baca. The Honorable Catherine Ray. From the 1st Judicial District, the Honorable Brian Bishop, Chief Judge. The Honorable Glenn Ellington. The Honorable Matthew Wilson. And the Honorable Shannon Woolman. And the Honorable Denise Thomas, Denise Thomas. From the 2nd Judicial District, we have the Honorable Marie Ward, Chief Judge. The Honorable Courtney Weeks. From the 3rd Judicial District, the Honorable Conrad Padilla, Chief Judge. From the 4th Judicial District, the Honorable Floro Gallegos, Chief Judge. And the Honorable Dwight Torres. From the 5th Judicial District, we have the Honorable Mark Sanchez, Chief Judge. The Honorable Dustin Hunter. And the Honorable Jimmy Foster. From the 6th Judicial District, the Honorable Jared Hofackett, Chief Judge. From the 7th Judicial District, the Honorable Shannon Murdoch Hoff. From the 8th Judicial District, the Honorable Emilio Chavez, Chief Judge. From the 9th Judicial District, the Honorable Donna Maurer, Chief Judge. From the 10th Judicial District, the Honorable Timothy Rose, Chief Judge. From the 11th Judicial District, the Honorable David Peterson, Chief Judge. Also from the 11th Judicial District, we have the Honorable Curtis Gurley and the Honorable Janelle Griego. From the 12th Judicial District, the Honorable Angie Schneider, Chief Judge. The Honorable Daniel Bryant. From the 13th Judicial District, the Honorable James Knoll, Chief Judge. And the Honorable Allison Martinez. The Honorable John Chavez. And from the Bernalillo County Metropolitan Court, we have the Honorable Joshua Sanchez, Chief Judge. Sergeant at Arms.
Mr. Chair, the Honorable Supreme Court Chief David K. Thomson.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Thomson into the chamber.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If I can have everyone please rise for the singing of our national anthem, sung today by Ava Thompson, Adiah Gonzales, and Asher Gonzales.
Songwriter, can you sing? One. Oh, sing, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Nice.
I felt taking super like a free child.
Oh my God, you guys are
Thank you to Adiah, Asher, and Chief Justice's daughter, Ava. You may be seated. The chair recognizes the Chief Justice of the State of New Mexico Supreme Court, the Honorable David K. Thomson.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Speaker Martinez, President Pro Tem Stewart, minority majority leaders of the House and Senate, distinguished members of the legislature, my colleagues on the Supreme Court, Dean Carey, President of the State Bar of New Mexico, Asia Brooks, Holly Agajanian, General Counsel of the Governor, family and friends, good afternoon. After that national anthem, I should probably just walk out, right? I know being a litigator, it's end when you're strong, and thank you very much for that today. I stand at the podium today representing members of the judicial branch, many of whom are here today. I deeply appreciate the presence of the judges and staff that have joined us. I want to take this opportunity to recognize the distinguished members of my own court. They join us today from our historic courtroom, now celebrating its 88th year. Senior Justice Michael Vigil, Justice Shannon Bacon, who was appointed to the court the same day as I, 6 years ago, and Justice Julie Vargas. Justice Zamora could not join us today. I want to thank retired Justice Judy Nakamura for joining us as well. I want to thank my law clerks, current and former, including Maddie Claybaugh and Jackie Monroe-Vahey. Please welcome my family, Ava you met, my wife Patricia, who she gets her looks and talent from, who sang the national anthem with the Gonzales boys. My sister Ann is joining us in live stream with my mom, who I know is watching, in memory of my father. I thank you all for your support and your encouragement. On the evening of January 10th, 1912, no, don't worry, speech isn't going that long. The territorial court was terminating its existence, and our government was transforming from a territory to a state of the union. In their place came 3 justices, Roberts, Parker, and Hanna. They came to be sworn in. They drew lots as to their term. Justice Roberts drew the shortest term, or the short straw, of 4 years, and having drawn the shortest term, became Chief Justice. It is fitting as I stand before you today, 113 years later, and the 43rd Chief Justice of the New Mexico Supreme Court, it is still the justice who draws the short straw that is chief. While at times this job is challenging, it is very rewarding, and today, talking to you is an honor, and it's a privilege. This ceremony was borrowed from the federal government. In 1970, Chief Justice then, Warren Berger, delivered his first state of judiciary to the American Bar Association. Our federal court never received the honors bestowed to its chief executive. That is an opportunity to present in joint session. That is why I'm humbled by your invitation to speak to you in this venue. I begin my remarks with a thank you. I want to thank the legislature, and I want to thank the governor for signing a bill that increases salaries for our judicial officers. This has made a difference. Last week, we had a judicial nominating commission in the 11th. We had 11 candidates, and we sent 5 qualified names to the governor for appointment. I will ask that my colleagues on the judiciary please stand and show your appreciation. Our role on the Supreme Court and my role as Chief Justice has divided obligations. The first is what I'm trained to do, which is to decide matters that work its way up from our numerous lower courts. But my comments today focus on my second role, and that is the role of an administrator. It's chief. The focus, however, in these comments will not be on my court. The focus in today's comments will be on the numerous public service servants that work tirelessly to ensure that we stay true to our motto, dedicated to the administration of equal justice on the law. A member of your legislature asked me this question in the interim committee. What can we do about? The question was about crime. It is a very simple prepositional phrase, but a very complex question. What policy could you fill in that blank? I was asked about crime, but you could ask and have asked the same question with different objects. What can we do about substance abuse? What can we do about foreclosures? About child welfare? Or, as we approach the 57th session, what can we do about behavioral health? This question reveals itself the challenges and burdens imposed on the judicial branch in the operation of the state government. At the same time, taking these tasks on and maintaining our core function. At the time the question was asked, I didn't answer it well. Upon reflection and taking it apart, I think it serves as an outline for my comments. Let me introduce you first to who we are. We are the numerous public employees, judges, and justices partners within the judiciary. This slide, which is a replication of what you had on the back of your badges at the legislative breakfast, shows how many judicial employees you have in your district. Let me introduce you to one of them. In the gallery, Ms. Perez, if you'll stand up. Ms. Perez is a certified court monitor from the 7th Judicial District in Socorro. The 7th is the largest judicial district in New Mexico. Covers reserved to truth or consequences, Socorro to Estancia. Ms. Perez worked at the local Walmart while attending college at CNM, where she earned an associate's degree in pre-general health sciences, but decided to move to the court for better pay and benefits as a 21-year-old. As she approaches her 3rd anniversary, she is advancing in the court. She is a dedicated, enthusiastic employee and daughter of proud magistrate Judge Felix Saavedra. During my visit to the 7th Judicial, she advocated for security and better working conditions. She just reported that it has recently been approved thanks to the county sheriff on site and renovations to the courthouse provided by funding by you. Thank you, Esperanza. This legislative session, our number one priority is employees like Ms. Perez. For many years, the judicial branch has fallen behind the executive branch. A workforce improvement plan was funded by the legislature, but now we are again falling behind to the executive as well as the local governments in pay. Not only are they non-competitive with the judicial branch, our entry-level employees are paid below the living wage. In fact, at our current compensation levels, 1/2 of our judicial branch employees likely qualify for government assistance. This is not acceptable. Raising our judicial staff to pay of the executive staff is not only essential to retention, but reflects integrity and fairness in New Mexico government. In the largest and most comparable job classifications, judicial employees' average pay is 17% lower than the executive. In the lowest pay raise, 25% lower. To level the field so we can reduce costly turnover and more efficiently maintain the workforce, we request pay increases for those employees. Closing this pay gap of our lowest paid employees is critical. It will affect 1,400 of the people you see on that screen. Here's the news you want to hear. It excludes judges and excludes employees that make over $100,000. This is our largest ask of $14 million that will directly impact employees in your district like Ms. Perez. She is who we are and who we want to support. The sentence also contains the verb can do. And I want to talk about can do in a moment. I want to focus first on what we do. In the opening, I showed pictures from the doors from courthouses across the state. It is through those doors that our civil and criminal justice system operate, and conflicts are resolved in a way that ensures the civilized, democratic, small d, society. In FY24, New Mexico state courts have heard more than 350,000 cases. The overwhelming majority of individuals seeking justice through the courts seek justice in state courts. 98.5% of all U.S. cases were filed in state courts. 1.5 were filed in federal courts. The judiciary is committed to doing the hard work to support the policy initiatives of the legislature and the executive in all areas, including behavioral health. We will do our part. My request to you is that we are not asked to do more to the detriment of our core judicial function. Provide first sustenance for our basic needs before I can lift the shovel to help on other tasks. Let me focus on a couple of those basic needs. First, juries. How many of you, either yourself, were called for a jury or a close family member? Quite a few. Look around. Thank you for your service. You are part of us. The American jury system is a constitutional right. All persons accused of crime or involved in a civil dispute have a right to have their matter decided by a jury. Jurors make important decisions affecting other people's lives as well as those in their communities. It is one of the greatest civic duties a person can perform. It is so important, in fact, it is the one civil duty ordered by the court. Perhaps you, among many others, watch with some interest in the criminal proceedings involving Hollywood actor Mr. Baldwin. That first trial in that case took 9 days. In that same time, 31 other jury trials were conducted in this state. Those other 31 jury trials may not have been as high profile, but for the defendant, for the victim, for the state prosecutor, and most often for the public defender, they were just as important. We can't do this without citizen jurors. As Chief Justice, I'm committing to shortening questionnaires, voir dire, terms of service, and smaller jury panels so we can make most of the money you appropriate to us and make the most of our time for your jurors. But trials are increasing, 32% from FY22 to 23, with nearly 47,000 jurors appearing to serve. This required increase in funding to pay jurors for their service has come in the form of one-time appropriations, and we appreciate that infusion. We need $2.2 million in recurring funds to ensure in FY26 we have a stable source of funding. Let me now turn to judicial security. Unfortunately, threats to judges, staff, and other elected officials increase daily. Just last week, we had to close the magistrate and district courts in Farmington because a father of a juvenile defendant threatened a judge. This follows on the heels of an incident in Seawollah County in which an individual with an axe entered the courthouse. The security funding we asked for is also to keep our citizens safe. To improve safety in the courts, we are requesting a one-time $25 million request for court security infrastructure upgrades. Security for all of us is a concern. Legitimacy and the concept of providing a civil resolution to dispute hinges on the people entering those courthouses, entering those doors, feeling they are in a safe environment. On the morning of October 24, 2024, a non-custodial parent removed his 12-year-old child from school in Thoreau, New Mexico, without lawful authorization. Police actively investigated the incident. They ultimately called it a kidnapping. The parent and child with him later on the same day when he entered the McKinley County District Court in Gallup to file paperwork. The circumstances of the kidnapping were unknown to anyone in the courthouse. While at the courthouse, the 12-year-old signaled to court security she was in danger. The signal is performed, I've learned this, by holding your hand up and your thumb tucked under your palm, then folding your fingers down, symbolically trapping your thumb and your fingers. Court staff and security, law enforcement work together to keep that child safe until law enforcement and social services took control of the situation. The parent's intentions with the child are unknown, but the child had already reported to be in harm's way. Thankfully, intervention by the court provided safety to the child. In this situation, we know the security personnel and staff have been trained. See something, say something, fight the polite had been embedded in their training. I want to recognize, and I've brought today some of the Gallup team who were on site at the courthouse until nearly midnight when the situation was resolved. They didn't have to stay, but they understood that a traumatized child felt safe in the presence of people who had rescued her. They didn't want to abandon her until she was safe. Please join me in recognizing two individuals that were instrumental in helping this young person. McKinley County Sheriff Officer Gilbert Adiah. Mr. Adiah. Mr. Padilla and Security Bailiff Derwin Jones were the first to recognize a hand signal and help the child. Mr. Jones was a point person for the District Court assisting Officer Padilla to separate the child from her parent. Mr. Jones was responsible for the child's safety throughout until CYFD. Officer Padilla, thank you again for your service. Officer Padilla is who we are, and it is who we want to support. And you can support us through court security. Let me turn then to improving judicial performance through technology. Can we go from this? Chief Judge Hofackett's courtroom. We have Chief Judge Hofackett over there. This is a witness box on wheels from the territorial days. Remember when I told you those three justices came over and were sworn in? That was the witness chair. Can we go from that to this? This is Judge Levy's technologically advanced courtroom in the Second Judicial. The witness box is ADA compliant. The witness, jury, attorneys, and judge have access to exhibits at the same time. You can provide remote witnesses and translators, making it easier for both language access and for parties to appear. In FY24, with legislative financial support, we modernized, thank you again, we modernized courtroom technology. This included speech-to-text technology that transcribes proceedings in real time. It provides a record which is searchable and 95% accurate for judges, court employees to access. We have installed dozens of these courtrooms. It takes some amount of time in the 2nd, 9th, 11th, and 12th. In 2025, JID will lead the next phase in Roswell, Santa Fe, Las Cruces, Lovington, and Carlsbad. Technology also supports performance measures you are interested in looking at and guiding our performance. Our court will lead by example. My colleagues have agreed that the Supreme Court's performance measures will soon be available for all to access on data exchange. Through the public portal, the public will have access to the number of outgoing cases from the Supreme Court. One just went out today, by the way. The percentage of criminal and civil cases disposed in 180 days or less, and pending criminal cases 510 days or less. In FY24, these percentages were over 96%. Last year, the legislature did not provide any of the requested $7.1 million in IT funding. This year, we are requesting approximately $3 million to fund connectivity, cybersecurity for courts statewide. This funding directly impacts the filing system for litigants, case processing, docket management, and data production to inform the decisions often you all are making, because the data you rely on for much of your policy is generated from the courts, and we need the support. We are requesting $40 million to complete FTR in our integrated courtrooms in every courtroom across the state. Let me turn now to a topic of some conversation, which is pretrial detention. As I recall, and as I described to you, there are two roles of a Chief Justice, one as a judge and one as an administrator. One requires adherence to precedent, and the other requires pragmatism in the operation of our court systems. These sometimes contrasting philosophies are apparent in our conversations surrounding pretrial detention. As a justice, stare decisis is an important legal concept for the rule of law. It is derived from Latin, to stand by things decided. It provides finality, certainty, and consistency. What we stand by and continue to stand by as a bedrock principle in our criminal justice system is that the accused are presumed innocent until found guilty. A pretrial deprivation of liberty requires assessment of the dangerousness of the individual and likelihood they will not appear to answer their charges, not their wealth. While I will always choose cooperation with the political branches of government, our founders have required from my office an obligation to first and foremost interpret the laws that you have written and signed and protect the constitutional rights enshrined since our founding. Leadership, however, in the operation of the courts does not require dogma or adherence to legacy, but instead requires the ability to adapt and cope to problems of our evolving judicial system. I must be consistent in my own message to you. I cannot ask you to update our courtroom to accommodate today's litigation and refuse to update our process with regard to our approach to public safety. As you are aware, crime has been the central focus of this session and New Mexico's pretrial justice initiative. The guiding principles are the presumption of innocence, use the least restrictive conditions to reasonably assure appearance and public safety, and use preventative detention where no reasonable conditions can be applied to protect public safety. We have developed a framework that focuses on legal and evidence-based practices. In FY24, the Background Investigations Unit completed an average of 1,300 background investigations, 16,000 for the year. However, we do not remain static. An improvement, strike that, an additional improvement to the pretrial detention was implemented in May 2024 with statewide automatic holds for defendants who are arrested while on pretrial release. The initial judge is notified upon the second arrest to evaluate the initial conditions of pretrial release. Currently, pretrial justice exists in 16 district courts. To date, there have been 2,750 holds based on this change in our policy. Supporting pretrial detention, and we're asking for approximately $3.5 million to monitor electronic monitoring, will allow for safer communities and respect for the guarantees in our Constitution. That is what we do. Let me turn to what we can do. In each of the 350,000 cases you saw on the screen was an individual or party that came to the court to resolve a dispute, be it commercial, civil, domestic, or criminal. Disputes, as we know, are born of conflict, and conflict often comes from underlying societal conditions, drug addiction, homelessness, access to legal representation, the ability of defendants and victims to have swift and fair justice. The judiciary does not sleep on the court's work as a problem solver for the community. Courts have a front row for the many challenges facing our communities and work every day to address them, including diversion programs, guardianship, specialized dockets for veterans, mental health, and rural justice initiatives. I would like to introduce you to Bobby Brookhauser, the program manager for Luna County Adult Court in the 6th Judicial District. The Luna County Adult Treatment Court provides intensive supervision and comprehensive rehabilitation by strengthening participants, families, and support systems. When I visited the courthouse in Deming, I was impressed by his program and commitment not only to the participants, but these are people in your community. For example, they host a holiday dinner for the Adult Treatment Court program for participants, their families, and kids to teach them to have a normal Christmas without substances. The program hosts a Valentine's Day community party in Lordsburg, a national night out movie night in the park, and foster partnerships with community leaders. Mr. Brookhauser is a Narcon instructor in the 6th and was the first district to have every person issue Narcon and provided training. His program receives a referral for every charge of possession. The recidivism rate is 15% after 5 years. Mr. Brookhauser, please stand so you can be recognized. Mr. Brookhauser is who we are and what we can do. Thank you, Mr. Brookhauser. The challenge is recognized by the chief of that district and Mr. Brookhauser and other court employees now require a larger response. Behavioral health is at the top of your agenda. We are a system of government upon which the citizens rely for their public safety. It is in the end a system where one is judged fairly by their peers upon reliable facts, and still the best system invented in the history of personkind for the innocent to be acquitted and the guilty punished. While our court system interacts with individuals with behavioral health issues or housing issues, most of these individuals do not engage in criminal activity. They are simply, as a kind and wise citizen from Hobbes described to me, the least, the lost, and the left out. Some seek redemption, a path perhaps of repentance that the Greeks used in the secular form to mean turn around or return. This can be achieved through court-assisted programs. During the special session this summer, the Judiciary was allocated $3 million to implement assisted outpatient treatment, pilot programs in the 3rd judicial districts, in 3 judicial districts, 1st, 4th, and 12th. The appropriation also supports 4 competency diversion pilot projects in those districts. This appropriation, this idea, was a result of a collaboration and leadership from your body and the governor's office, with input from the courts. And this occurred last fall. This is a commendable process to find solutions to the complex problems you are facing. This session, the AOC requested a total of $1.8 million in recurring AOT funds. LFC recommended $900,000 through GROW funding. We requested the $3 million to be recurring. We need that extended if this is a program that is of value to you, so we can have consistency in its application. But let's get to a fine point of what we have done after that meeting last August. This is a timeline hard to read. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it narratively. In August of 2024, we received the appropriations for AOT. In September, the AOC began recruitment and finalized the budget. In October, we secured national experts for technical assistance and held stakeholder meetings. In November, we created the program process and secured a database. In December, we developed policies and procedures, circulated formal agreements, and trained new staff. At the beginning of this year, we secured treatment providers and attorneys and finalized the referral process from August until the beginning of this year. Today, I am pleased to announce we will launch the first of the AOT programs in the First Judicial Court only 5 months after receiving funding. And we're happy to report that the Second Judicial District is relaunching its program, and the Third Judicial District is also well on its way. I received a report. I asked for a report because you wonder what are the names behind these individuals. Who are we helping? Are we helping them? How is our money being spent? One AOT participant from the 3rd Judicial District was involved in the criminal justice system. However, his AOT referrals were from the hospital and the second one from a behavioral health provider. He was ordered to AOT in 2023 and is close to successful completion. He's currently stable, taking his medication. He went to a sober living facility, has had no relapses in almost a year, and has been housed since 2024 with no issues. This is a small success, but it is a success.
That's good. Sure. Happy.
Is AOT the answer to the question you posed to me at the interim committee? It is not. It's not by itself. But together with other programs, public safety initiatives that you are implementing and you are funding, we can do our very best to ensure the public safety and the health, I should say, of our community. What is more important to me, I don't provide it only to a lesson in myself and not as a matter of lecture, that the lessons provided is a conversation between the branches and trying to seek a solution that was the real success in this program. That itself is part of the answer. Let me close. I want to encourage certainly funding for all the programs I've described, but I cannot leave this podium without recognizing our judicial partners and encourage you and urge you to support funding for our justice partners, including district attorneys, public defenders, mental health and treatment service providers, law enforcement, correction, and our county jails. I would like to thank and recognize Sam Bregman, the district attorney in the 2nd Judicial District, Ben Bauer, chief public defender for the state of New Mexico, and Marcos Montoya, the president of the New Mexico District Attorneys Association. I want to recognize the work of the New Mexico Commission on Access to Justice, which works collaboratively with civil legal service providers to ensure equal access to the justice system for the most vulnerable in our community. Lastly, and most importantly, I want to publicly thank our frontline court clerks and employees. They are the ones that enable our courts to serve all New Mexicans. The Judiciary looks forward to working with you this session. Although I told most of them, stay at work first and then come to legislature. We know that working together, we can ensure equal justice under law and provide the citizens of New Mexico the very best services and outcomes when they are in need. So what can we do? Here is what I know. We can do a lot about the things we have just described and the things you need to tackle in the next 60 days. And I thank you for your service. What I do know is we can do a lot about it if we do it together. God bless our great state. God bless our democratic system of government. Thank you for your attention today, and thank you for your service.